Right now, we're finally drying out from all that heavy rain that moved through the area. We're going to take a look at the persistent issue of flooding across the metro, plus how to keep your kids healthy and safe from the flu. And we're going straight to an expert who has some helpful advice on giving the right gift for Valentine's Day. This is The Take. Well, hello and welcome, folks. This is The Take, where we go above and beyond the headlines and look at how and why stories are impacting you and your community. First up, we got to get to the weather, right? We finally are getting some relief from all that heavy rain we had over the last couple of days. It's finally starting to move away from us. Had some thunderstorms through the overnight, dropped some very heavy rain. Not much of a severe weather threat for us, except for the flooding after the rain, right? All these green little lines that you're seeing are flood warnings that are along some of our area creeks and streams. And so you have to be on the careful side. All reporting minor right now, so they're at or just above flood stage throughout the area. But you know those spots that happen to flood every time we get a little bit of rain around. Take a look at some of this video that we have right here of standing water that was left behind from some of that rain. This is in Sandy Springs. Several cars got stranded in these flood waters. This is an intersection right near Children's Hospital at Scottish Rite. And we've been seeing scenes like this all around the metro area. Joining us now from the National Weather Service in Peachtree City is meteorologist Laura Bellinger. And good morning to you, Laura. How you doing this morning?
Good, Chesley. How are you?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Now, we've been talking about the metro area. We've been seeing scenes of cars stranded in floodwaters. What are some of the harder hit areas around the state?
Yeah, so right now, overnight, we actually saw anywhere between 2 and 3 inches of rain very quickly fall over the metro area. That kind of adds to a storm total from the last few days of upwards of 4, 5, 6 inches across North Georgia. In the Atlanta area, Peachtree Creek, Nancy Creek, the Chattahoochee, all those areas were really impacted heavily by the rainfall that we had overnight. As you mentioned, we had about 46 river flood warnings for those river gauge points. And so quite busy this morning and a lot of water out there.
Yeah, I know we broke a record for a single day as far as the rainfall totals go here in Atlanta. What's the threshold? What are we looking at? When we talk about an inch of rain, do we have to get over 2, 3 to start seeing issues like this?
Well, fortunately, you know, that's very seasonally based, and also how much rain we've had recently. We've been dry over the last few weeks, so that certainly helped us. It could have been much worse. However, that being said, after many days of light rainfall and the rain continuing into the weekend, these points will continue to respond quickly. So, you know, an inch and a half of rain could still allow these to go back up. All
right, you mentioned it. What's happening this weekend? Go ahead, give us the forecast, right? We're expecting more storms to come over the weekend?
We are specifically Saturday into Saturday night. We could see additional rainfall amounts. The metro Atlanta area probably only going to see an inch to maybe an inch and a quarter, but those far north Georgia areas could see upwards of 2 inches. So that's something we're continuing to monitor. However, sunshine is expected tomorrow, and so that will certainly help us recover a little bit after this week's rain.
Can't wait for it. All right, Laura Bellinger, really appreciate you coming to us from the National Weather Service in Peachtree City. Thanks a lot for being on the show.
Thanks, Chesley.
All right, be sure to stay weather aware by downloading our 11Alive app. Just scan the QR code right there on your screen. It's for free. And stay right here on 11Alive Plus for constant updates on the weather throughout the day. All right, school safety and gender rights remain top of mind for lawmakers under the Gold Dome, especially for one Democrat who's eyeing a higher run at office. Joining me now on the show is my good friend, Zach Merchant. Good morning to you, my friend.
Chesley, good morning to you, and congratulations on the new show. It's a couple days old now. It looks so good.
Man, you know, this guy is an expert, right? You're the co-host of Georgia Vote and a member of our 11Alive political team. So tell us what's going on. What's the latest?
Yeah, so Georgia Vote runs every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. right here on 11Alive. This week, we spoke with Democratic State Senator Emmanuel Jones. He represents the Decatur area, and he is teasing, and not even really teasing, he is announcing that he's running for Congress now. He's been in the state Senate for many years. Now he says he's ready to take a step up to federal office. What's unique about this is that he's a Democrat, and he is challenging an incumbent Democrat, an incumbent member of his own party. We talk about why he's running, why now, and why he is challenging someone inside his own party this weekend on the Georgia Vote.
Is there issues that he's presenting forward or bringing forward as to why he should be the one to get the seat?
Yeah, you know, State Senator Jones, education policy is a big one for him. He says he's really championed that over his roughly 2 decades in the Georgia legislature. He is challenging incumbent U.S. Representative David Scott, and I don't want to give too much away from our conversation this Sunday, but State Senator Emmanuel Jones says he has some concerns, in his view, about Representative Scott's performance in office over the last few years. Right now, Representative Scott has not indicated he's not going to run, so right now it looks like it's setting up for a contested primary for this seat that David Scott has held for a long time in Congress.
Wow. Okay. What else is going on throughout the legislature?
Well, of course, we're talking about State Senator Emmanuel Jones looking ahead to this campaign. He is mounting now for higher office, but he's still in the state Senate right now. The Georgia legislature is in session right now, and we're still about 3-4 weeks away from crossover day. That's the key middle point of the session, but there have been a lot of controversial and kind of big headline-grabbing bills being introduced and moving through the state Senate, the chamber that State Senator Emmanuel Jones is in. One of the biggest ones that's gotten a lot of attention was actually the first bill right out of the gate, SB 1. It stands for Senate Bill 1, and that was a bill that, if passed, would broadly restrict the access of girls and women who identify as transgender girls and women. It would prevent them from playing most sports in Georgia that are designated for girls and women. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones, he's a Republican. He's been a real champion of this bill. He was on our show last week, and he laid out his case for supporting it. This week, State Senator Emmanuel Jones lays out the opposite case and explains why he does not support this bill.
Put it in your forecasting head. You know, I'm a forecaster. Where do you see this bill going? Do you see it passing?
Well, in Georgia, you know, the state legislature is dominated by Republicans, both in the state Senate and in the state House. And of course, Governor Brian Kemp is a Republican as well. We asked Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones this question when we talked to him last week. I said, do you think this bill is going to pass? And he said, yeah, I do. It's passed out of the Senate last week. It still needs to clear the House and obviously be signed into law by the governor to become law. We never want to predict the future, but it seems there's Republican support to get it done.
I see. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Zach. Really appreciate you joining us, man.
Of course.
That's my man right there. You can watch the Georgia Vote with Zach and Faith Jesse Sunday morning at 11 o'clock right after Meet the Press on 11Alive. It can also be seen right here on 11Alive Plus, the streaming app. You can check him out. He knows it all, folks. He knows it all, especially when it comes to politics and breaking it down for all of us to understand. Appreciate that, Zach. All right, take a look at your 7-day outlook. We talked about it just a minute ago with Laura from the National Weather Service. Yeah, we are anticipating some scattered showers, thunderstorms to move back into the forecast area for Saturday and Sunday. But at least we get a break for Love Day, Valentine's Day. We're looking at sunshine, 56 degrees for the high temperature. That's right where we should be for this time of year. Warming up just a little bit as we head into Saturday and Sunday. And then notice after those storms roll through on Sunday, behind the front, temperatures will cool down. You're looking at 48 degrees for a high temperature on Monday, well below the average, but at least we'll stay dry for Tuesday as well. Don't go anywhere, folks. We'll be back right after this. You're looking at, well, looks like fog almost, low-level cloudiness. The King and Queen building would be right behind that highway there, but you can't even see it thanks to the clouds. We're back right after this. Welcome back to the show. The Trump buyout plan, known as deferred resignation, is going forward. That's after a judge's ruling late yesterday. With more on this now is NBC's Washington correspondent Alice Barr, who has been covering politics for years now, has all the insight for us. Welcome to the show again. Alice, how you doing?
Good morning. Good. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Now that the president's deferred resignation plan is back on, we expect the White House to roll this out swiftly this week?
Yeah, so one thing that we don't have a lot of is detail about how this is going to work, and that's part of why the lawsuit happened in the first place. Labor unions sued to try to get this program stopped. They thought that it might not be authorized. There's not money and funding in place for it. A lot of Democratic lawmakers have been saying that too. But it is, in fact, cleared to go ahead. And as we've noted, the deadline is that these folks who've taken this are supposed to be paid through September. But exactly when they would stop working, how the mechanics of that would look, when they might sign on some kind of dotted line, that part is not clear at this point. We have heard, however, what's becoming increasingly clear is that federal workers who did not take that buyout offer, they could see their jobs potentially taken away, because the Trump administration has signaled that furloughs and layoffs are likely if not enough federal workers agreed to the buyout. Something like 75,000 took them, and we'd heard initially that the Trump administration was aiming for like 100,000. There was an executive order President Trump signed earlier this week instructing the heads of federal departments and agencies to undertake plans for large-scale reductions in force. So that could start happening and has, in fact, we believe, at some agencies already.
Does this strengthen the president's adult agency, and what could be next with this?
Right. So we heard from Elon Musk, who, of course, is the head of the Department of Government Efficiency and sort of the chief cost cutter for the Trump administration. He spoke out overnight and said that, quote, we need to delete entire agencies. We've heard from President Trump. He said just yesterday that he wants to see the Department of Education go away entirely. Things like that, entire departments being erased, would be something that you would need to get congressional approval for. But certainly those departments, education, Department of Defense, I think we spoke about yesterday, those are the areas where President Trump has indicated he wants Elon Musk to look next and to root around for waste and fraud. We do know from reporting that already Department of Government Efficiency workers have been digging in at the Department of Education, and we've heard some reporting that some of the top administrators at DOE have been moved out of their offices. Certainly a work is underway there to look for the kinds of cuts that President Trump and Elon Musk have been talking about.
All right, Alice, we're expecting a vote today on Robert Kennedy Jr. to head the Department of Health and Human Services. Are there any Republicans you think that would break rank and maybe reject this nomination?
It doesn't look likely. There had been a couple that had indicated they might earlier on in the process, but Lisa Murkowski, she put out a statement saying that she had sought assurances that RFK Jr. would not take vaccines away or do anything to limit access to vaccines for any Americans who continue to want those. And she apparently received those assurances. So it doesn't look at this point that anyone is likely to break ranks. That, of course, could always change. Just yesterday, we saw the former Senate Majority Leader or Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, he broke ranks with the rest of the Republicans to vote against Tulsi Gabbard, who then went on to be confirmed for Director of National Intelligence. But RFK Jr. certainly is one that's been controversial, particularly his stance on vaccines, particularly his refusal to acknowledge the scientific consensus that vaccines do not cause autism. Those concerns notwithstanding, it appears that he's going to have enough Republican support to be confirmed just a little bit later today.
All right. Thanks a lot. Alice Barr from NBC in D.C. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
All right. Take care. All right. Right now, we're dealing with a very bad flu season. Yeah, we've been hearing about this. Here in the United States, it's had a surge on hospitalizations, doctor and clinic visits, which is putting parents on alert to keep their children healthy. Joining us right now is Dr. Joanne Dolgoff from the Pediatric WellStar East Paulding Center. And welcome to the show, Doc. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Staying well, I presume. We've been hearing about this flu season. Tell us how bad it really is.
You know, it's one of the worst flu seasons that we've had in recent times, and it's only getting worse right now.
Is it more so for the youth that we should be concerned about, or just everyone?
It's really everybody, kids, adults, everybody is being affected this season.
Are they a little bit more susceptible than we are?
Children are definitely more susceptible to the flu and more susceptible to some of the sequelae from the flu. So you have to be very careful to protect your children as much as possible. So
as a parent, what are some of the signs you should be looking for in your children to know that they have the flu?
Well, you'll have a high fever usually. You can have chills, you can just feel really awful, sneezing, runny nose, coughing, sore throat. It really, all the different symptoms make up the flu.
Doc, knock on wood, and you probably see me hitting my head right here. I feel like I haven't had the flu, or maybe I have known. I may be confusing it with the cold. Is that something that people do commonly, or are they totally different things?
It's hard to tell the difference between the flu and the cold, although with the flu, you tend to have a higher fever and you tend to be sicker than if you have just the regular common cold.
Well, winter break is coming up here pretty soon. Kids will be around each other. You probably want to take your kids out for vacation. Any tips that you can give us to help keep our kids safe, maybe keep their hands washed, those kind of things?
Yes, well, you want to, first of all, get your kids vaccinated. If you want to prevent the flu, the best way to do that is to get the vaccine. That's really very effective. You want to stay away from any sick people. If you're around someone who seems to be ill, just, you want to leave the area as quickly as possible. You want to have really good hygiene. Make sure your kids are washing their hands frequently. If you don't have access to soap, you can use hand sanitizer. And encourage your kids not to touch their face. That's a real good way to transmit infection, by touching your face. You want to stay healthy, get a lot of sleep, drink a lot of fluids, get exercise. Cover your coughs and sneezes with your elbow and not your hands. If you do cough and sneeze, you do wash your hands right away and dispose of tissues properly. So these are some things you can do to help decrease your risk of getting the flu.
That seems like it's going to be hard to do to keep kids from doing that. So we just got to be diligent, stay looking at them, and make sure that they do what they need to do not to be sick. Before you go, real quick, a quick word about the measles. The Georgia Department of Health recently confirmed new cases in the metro area. What sort of concerns should people have going forward with the measles?
Well, just like with the flu, the best way to prevent the measles is to get that measles vaccine. It's very effective. We're starting to see the measles more because so many people are not getting vaccinated, and that's the biggest risk, is not being vaccinated against the measles. So getting the measles vaccine is the best thing that you can do to decrease your risk of getting the measles.
All right, Dr. Dolgoff, really appreciate you joining us here this morning. Great tips for us, and we'll be checking back in with you because we need to stay healthy. I know I do. I got a job to do. Good to see you. You heard the good doctor, folks. Keep your kids safe. Try to keep their fingers from rubbing their eyes. I know it's very difficult to do. Keep that hand sanitizer around. Keep them all lathered up and make sure they stay healthy. I don't even want to change your plans as far as vacation goes, but keeping kids healthy and yourself healthy is a good idea, good something to do. All right. And don't come to work if you're sick. Okay. Keep us safe around here. We got plenty more stories for you. This is The Take on 11Alive Plus. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the show. Have you picked out that perfect gift for that special Valentine? It's a little late if you haven't. You don't have much time, folks. It's tomorrow, okay? Get on it. Joining us now is Emory Professor Morgan Ward. Welcome to the show, an expert on consumer behavior. And I got to tell you this, Professor Ward, in the McNeil household, I have always stated that every day is Valentine's Day in the McNeil household. Now, that saves me from spending a whole bunch of money on one particular day. But how much do we see people spending on this particular day? Is it a lot of money?
It's a lot of money, and it's an amount that's increasing, actually. I think this year I saw the stat at $27 billion.
Whoa.
In the United States. It's about $188 per person in the United States. So it's a substantial amount of money, and it's increasing. I think we're up $1 billion since 2023. So it is an expensive holiday for most of us.
I wonder how we got to this point. How have we been shaped to do this?
Valentine's Day in general is a really old holiday. It's a pagan holiday that was adopted by the Romans. So it's been around for a very long time. And just over time, it's been commercialized. Even in the Middle Ages, people were exchanging cards. But as the Industrial Revolution appeared, then all of a sudden we had mass production of cards, and then good marketers just got a hold of it. So first Cadbury's in the late 1800s, and then Necco with the little hearts that we all buy each other. And so, as marketers and brands started to realize that they could capitalize on this holiday, more and more products were put into the market that were specific to Valentine's Day. So it's really grown as our economy has grown and marketers have gotten more savvy.
Wow, is it bigger than, let's say Easter, you think? Or is there another, does it rank up there with one of the big ones?
It's in terms of gifting, it's bigger than Easter, just in terms of like gift exchange, because Easter doesn't have adults giving gifts. It's usually adult to child. Right. But in terms of like the specificity of the gift is supposed to symbolize something very, very important and personal. So I would say it's a different type of gift than an Easter. Speaking
of gifts, is there one in particular now? Do we see a trend of people buying more of one thing than another?
Yeah. So I think the trend, I couldn't tell you a specific gift, and that's on purpose, because I think the trend is to customization and personalization. Because if you think of what Valentine's is about the personal experience of loving someone else. And so, they're buying something that's kind of mass produced or not personal to the person that you're giving to does not sit well with that holiday. So I would say there's two big trends. One, customization and personalization. And the second one is experiential gifts, which same kind of thing. If you're spending time, that's a connection that you're making with the other person. So those would be the big trends I see. And brands and retailers are capitalizing on this in all different ways. Like even grocery stores are getting into the act this year. I've noticed that they're making personalized dinners so people can have that experience at home, and selling Prosecco. So basically selling the experience. And then of course, at the ultra high end, I think I saw that one particularly in love person, I guess, was spending millions of dollars bringing his girlfriend to Milan and having Gucci and Prada make customized clothing for her. So,
wow.
Depending on the price point that you're willing to spend, there are a myriad of gifts, obviously, in between. But I think the core value is about personalization and the customization that expresses, I understand you, I love you.
I hear what you're saying, Professor Ward. You're saying it's more about the experience. So if you're going to buy little flowers and candy, you may not get a good response. In other words,
right.
Go for the experience.
Go for the experience.
I got you. Hey, happy Valentine's Day to you early.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for joining us. Hey, folks, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll talk about something to think about, and we'll talk about your Zen for today, especially with all these clouds and the rain around. We're back right after this. Has been pretty rainy around here, but in Florida, it's been good enough to take a dip in the pool. But just when you thought it was safe, this gator found its way into a backyard Florida subdivision. Local sheriff deputy answered the call and got the wayward gator away. Went as far as to poke a shovel at the gator. The pool's owner even got in on the act, using a broom to try to sweep it away. Eventually, the team of them got together and got the gator out of there. But if a shovel and a broom is all they had, I bet that gator's saying, "Oh, don't worry, I'll be back. I'll be back." A shovel and a broom? Gator repellent, I don't think. All right, before we go, here's something to think about. The NCAA is recommending that adding women's flag football as an official sport. Over 65 schools are currently supporting it, and more are expected to do so in 2026. Flag football will also be featured in the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Games. I really thought the next big sport for women would be pro soccer, right? It's been catching on, right? But this football thing is really taking fire. The Georgia High School Association has a number of flag football teams, and Greenbrier High in Evans, Georgia is ranked #1 in the state. Can you feel it? I can. Yeah, I think this thing is really going to take off. And if you ever seen just a piece or a clip of a game, these ladies got game. Yeah, I think that is going to be the next big thing here in Georgia. Flag football. I used to play flag football. Let me tell you, it's not easy. Not an easy thing to do, to try to maneuver it, because you can't swipe punch somebody's hand down. You got to maneuver those hips and move them around. I still may have a little bit of game, but I'm not playing at all. All right. Thanks for joining us today, folks. As we say goodbye to you today, we want to give you a moment of zen, especially after all the rain that we've had. We got the clouds out there, but eventually those will go away, and then more rain coming back as we head into the weekend. Maybe you want to take a look at this zen.